all for joining us for the Cryptonaut podcast. I'm Mark Storrs, and with me as always is...
Crap.
And...
Rob Morphy.
Thank you all so very much for coming to the live show. Hey, the people at home can hear you. Excellent.
I cannot believe 500 people showed up.
I know, it's amazing. Holy shit. I didn't realize we had this many
astonishing.
listeners. God damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like a rock star.
So, Instagrams, Twitters, and Facebooks. Do you guys like Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook? You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Boo.
All right, but you
Yeah,
do.
no.
But if you do,
They're
you should
watching
follow
you.
us.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, check us out there. We are available also on iTunes, the Apple Podcast apps, and Stitcher Radio if you want to listen to any of our past shows. So our Patreon, patreon.com/Cryptonaut Podcast. We have a Patreon you can check out as well, which is greatly appreciated. Anybody here giving to our Patreon?
Oh,
I tried.
All right, pack it up. Pack it up.
All right, it's
Show's over.
It's over. All right, so Rob selected a couple of two stories actually that we're going to be going over here. The first one is called The Salesman, and this is coming to us from England. In the late 1960s, a teen from the east coast of England would have one of the most traumatizing and outright bizarre all too close encounters on record when she was confronted by what she initially assumed was a door-to-door salesman, but what she quickly came to realize was an entity unlike any she's ever encountered, one which drove home the oft-repeated lesson instilled by her parents to never talk to strangers.
Don't do that.
No, so this is creepy.
Stranger
We're
danger.
going to start with creepy.
Is it creepy?
It's creepy.
Does it seem creepy to you?
All right.
It's really fucking creepy, actually. Yeah.
Come on, man.
All right. First off, this is not a headband my mom got from Waves that I found that I'm using.
No, I feel like it is.
So it
though.
is?
It's totally that. And it keeps sweat out of my eyes.
He actually wears this every week when we record, which is
Every
pretty
single
hilarious.
week.
So, yeah.
You can buy it in my Etsy shop, $37.99, 3 easy payments. It's awesome. Yeah, I'll draw something with a Sharpie. It's great. Okay, so we're dealing with the salesman, and it's a nondescript name for a really, really fucked up dude that has a lot of paranormal investigators and ufologists and other people, study sundry paranormal things, like really in hot debate as to what this thing was. So let's just get into it and we'll figure it out. Sometime in May of 1968, in the seaside resort town of Scarborough in Yorkshire, England, a 16-year-old girl known only as Adele, that's a pseudonym, protecting the innocent, was alone for the afternoon in the home she shared with her parents when she heard a sharp knock at the front door. The young woman rushed to the door, yanked it open, and got her first good look at the tall, black-suited visitor on her doorstep. So far, so good.
Not bad. No, this is not terrifying at all.
It's pretty standard mid-60s door-to-door salesman stuff.
All right, there you go.
The first thing Adele noticed was that the strange man had an insanely beaming smile. This was made all the more striking by the fact that his white teeth seemed to be all the brighter when contrasted with his vivid red, or as Adele put it, florid expression. She's British, she speaks better than us. It's just the way it is. Perplexed by how the man seemed to be simultaneously mundane and off-putting, Adele began to know other details. He wore a pork pie hat, like a proper hipster, that seemed far too small for his shaved skull, which was striking enough for the time, and had a stylish black suit that likewise seemed to be too short in the trousers and jacket sleeves.
Trousers.
So when,
So he's got like tiny pants?
You're flooding. Yeah. It's just wearing an ill-fitting, he got it from his big brother. It just doesn't fit right.
And his hat doesn't fit his head?
Little tiny pork pie.
All right.
Okay.
It's weird.
Stranger still, the eyes of the man staring at Adele weren't blinking. In fact, he wasn't moving at all. It was as if pranksters had perched an eerie flesh statue in her doorway and run off to watch her reaction from a concealed place. Creepy. Growing more unnerved by the moment, the teenager was positively shocked by what happened next, claiming, and this is a quote from Adele herself, "After grinning madly at me for what seemed like ages, the man's whole body jerked."
It's just gross. Just like one of those.
Yeah. And then, if they have Tourette's, you just feel like an asshole for saying that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if the dude just staring at you and all of a sudden just bang, jerks around.
Although this analogy would have been wasted on a teenager from 1968, it was as if this peculiar person was frozen in a sort of diagnostic mode, then suddenly rebooted.
Oh, yeah.
The abruptly animate entity then spoke in a voice that Adele compared to that of a robot on television. And by that she means jerky and lacking in common human warmth. which I think we can all appreciate. Yeah.
Common human warmth.
Just common base level human warmth.
Okay.
All right.
Computers
That
don't
means.
have it.
Dude,
Fuck AI.
don't they?
No, they don't.
All right.
You sure?
And what he says was this: do you have insurance? Is it now?
Weird.
the question?
That's a
Yeah.
shitty sales pitch.
Yeah, you think.
Like, it's not good at all. And what is now?
Right now.
Is this right now?
Are you insured?
Yes,
Now?
I am actually. Yes,
All right,
by
good.
Adirondack Insurance through Dauphin and Moran.
Wow.
Local shout
nice
out.
plug.
Dauphin
Yeah,
Moran,
no
what
doubt.
up? Thank
and
you.
that's our sponsor.
Are you a shill?
Actually, I am.
All right.
I got a decent rate.
Frightened, obviously, Adele asked this apparent door-to-door insurance salesman to come back when her parents were at home. Suddenly, the man started to sweat.
Like us?
Well,
Really?
like me right
Like
now.
me? All right, good.
I'm one bald sweat. It's happening. He removed his hat and wiped his forehead with the back of his hand, removing a thick coat of haphazardly applied makeup.
Oh, yeah. Like,
Perfect.
Yep,
Like
that thick coat of
like
cosmetics.
flesh-colored makeup?
You know, that thing that makes you feel really comfortable
Yeah,
when
that's
you're with a
gross.
stranger
Like-
and you just wipe off your flesh color.
oh,
Yeah.
man.
That's great.
It's like the Joker in Batman, 89
That's what I
Batman.
picture
Yeah,
too
yeah.
when he's like
Oh.
wipes it. Yeah.
All right, weird.
The alarmed teenager quickly realized that his ruddy complexion had been an illusion created by cosmetics and that his actual epidermis had an unnaturally white pallor, which she compared to the flesh of a corpse. Being
What?
a 16-year-old girl in England, I mean, you know corpses.
Corpses, yeah.
Corpse
Clearly,
coloration.
Yeah.
That was the
It's a
deal.
done
That's
deal.
what they
Yeah,
did.
No,
All
it's,
right.
what it's a hobby. It's
Cool.
like Magic the Gathering, but for 16-year-old girls
Yeah,
in England.
corpses.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
It could be
And then,
Robert
and then he
Smith.
put a spider on his head and recorded some beautiful music.
Yeah. I
Yes, absolutely. Okay. With the same ghastly grin plastered to his face and in the same computerized cadences, the man then asked, "Can I see a glass of water?"
Just look
At
at
this
it.
point, the man was sweating so profusely that Adele feared he might faint on the doorstep. In this era of good manners usurping common sense, the girl invited the pale stranger into her house.
See, no.
No, this is where
This is
where
what- this is what you
parenting
don't
goes
do.
wrong.
Yeah, well, it was a different time. At
It
that
doesn't
time,
matter.
you couldn't be rude to the molester. The home invader needed tea.
Just
what happened.
Still, don't invite him in.
But once he entered the house, he also entered paranormal lore forever after.
Oh, all right.
All right.
That's foreshadowing. I mean, we're reading the story so you know something's going to happen, but there you go.
Will it?
You just said it did.
Shut up. At this point, the man was sweating. Oh, shoot. See, this is what happens. I read the same sentence. The visitor followed Adele into the lounge, but instead of walking naturally, he employed a series of spasmodic movements that she could not help but to compare to a puppet moving on invisible strings. That's always a comfort.
Is he doing the Resident Evil shit?
Oh, it's totally that. It's some Silent Hill stumbly weird shit that just makes you feel icky on the
Yeah, it's
inside.
weird. Yeah, that whole fast.
And it's bad enough when you see it in a fucking movie, but when you see it in real life, I can't even imagine what you do.
Yeah, no.
It's just, it's
You say no and then
You
leave.
It's
regret
uncomfortable. Yes.
inviting them in. For one.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah.
As she helped him into a chair near the fireplace, the teen noticed that he had his shoes on the wrong feet.
Oh, that's why he was walking
That
weird.
this probably
yeah.
doesn't help, but I think it's just another indicator something's fucked up.
All right.
Without a moment's hesitation, Adele rushed into the kitchen for the requested glass of water. She figured the quicker she could get him rehydrated, the sooner he would be on his way. But when she returned, Adele found that her odd guest was standing by the fireplace rather than sitting down, staring intently at a carriage clock on the mantel. Anyone out here know what a carriage clock is?
Anybody cares?
Anybody?
Oh wait, Dania, you got it. You had a hand motion. It looks good to me. Yeah,
I am literally
that's it.
asking because I did no
Yeah, yeah,
research
yeah.
and
Yeah,
I have
no.
no
Yeah,
idea.
We don't really know what it is.
So it's like does like one of these.
Oh,
All
sorry.
right.
Oh, and then it like goes to like one of the old-timey radios, like smoothly.
Oh, okay.
All right, because
I'm glad the audience can tell us
Yeah,
what
we-
it is.
we had
'cause
no
this is
idea.
Clearly, we have no fucking
this
idea.
is something we've needed all along.
We're just like,
good.
yeah, okay.
Good. All right.
And the thing that excites me and will probably surprise none of you is that it was completely a covered wagon in my mind with an Old West motif and a clock embedded in it. Because it's a fucking carriage clock.
Carriage clock, yeah.
All right.
Why
Fair
would it-
enough.
why would
Maybe a
not be
baby
that?
stroller.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But no,
Fair
it's
enough.
just the fancy clock my grandma had. So
All
that's
right. So this
awesome.
guy's inspecting this thing. All right?
Mhm.
He's intent on it.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool.
Carriage clock. Adele was suddenly overwhelmed by a wave of anxiety, and seeing as the salesman was so intrigued by the clock, she began to prattle on about the item, later claiming, page turn, "He made me so nervous I started to blather. I told him the clock was my father's retirement present, which seemed to be a huge revelation to him. He stared at me, still smiling, and said, "Is this your father's time? Is it here and now?" Well, yeah. Confused about how her father might be in possession of time, Adele then presented the pasty fellow with the water he'd asked for. She remembered his bizarre reaction. When he took the glass of water, he just looked at it. I realized he'd asked if he could see a glass, and that's exactly what he was doing. After scrutinizing it in a sort of polite way, he handed it back, having not taken even the smallest sip.
So he just looked at it?
Okay, so...
So he's like
Like
that
this?
douche that's like the literalist.
Can I see
it?
the one? Yeah.
Can you? I don't know. It's like, oh, fuck you. I want to see it.
All right. Well,
But he
weird.
means it this time. It's weird. The idiosyncratic insurance man returned his attention back to the clock, seemingly fascinated by the device. He began tapping on it rhythmically, all the while repeating an unnerving chant. That's what happens when you can't get out of it. Of your father, his time, his time. But remember, it's not said in this beautiful baritone. It is said in the computer-like cadence,
Robot-y.
lacking utter human warmth. No doubt disturbing to no end to this poor child. Just saying. You have to use your imaginations for this part. Unless, Chris, you want to do the robot cadence?
No,
Okay. So now it's all up to you.
I do not.
Yep. He went on and on, unlike Chris, on and on, as if the Grinning Man were a malfunctioning machine caught in an endless loop. It was then that, just as he had been on the perch, the unusual man halted mid-word and became utterly immobile. So he just freezes again. Like when
Okay.
she first opened the door and he's just like grinning,
Herky-jerky?
like,
Right.
Yeah.
and now he's just there again.
Okay.
This guy sucks.
Yeah, no, it's shitty. The only thing that moved was the sweat dripping down his makeup-streaked brow onto the floor, and probably his mom's good carpet, because that's just the way it's going to work. Asshole. Okay. Adele stared at the frozen fiend, unsure of what to do next. I think we can all agree. It'd be pretty tough to figure out what to do.
Yeah, totally.
She was growing more and more terrified by the moment when suddenly the beaming man spun around, locked his eyes onto hers, and screamed, "Watch the lights!" Without uttering another word, the curious caller gave the clock one last friendly pat as if saying goodbye to an old friend, then used his hands to reposition one of his legs, turned, and staggered towards the entrance, utilizing the same marionette-like movements. Adele hurried, as she would have to do, past the awkwardly ambulatory entity in order to swing the door open before he walked straight into it. Without so much as an acknowledgement of her efforts or a thank you for her hospitality, the ashen interloper, I'm proud of that one, everybody. Come on,
That was
ashen
good.
interloper.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ashen
Thank you.
interloper.
I don't often get direct
Enigmatic
feedback.
entities.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Alliteration.
I love it.
Be your friend.
Yeah.
Okay. The ashen interloper, as I said, walked out of her house and out of her life.
So
Temporarily.
as he's walking, he actually
So-
physically adjusts his leg to
Yeah, that's a
to
Michael
go?
Jackson move.
Oh, that's
It kinda
totally
is,
a dance
yeah. You
move.
go to like a-
Like, right? You do the thing,
Shaman.
you shift your leg.
Totally.
So he's really okay. So, like most things that we talk about, the angles that we normally take are, is there anything to be gained by if this is a hoax or just a girl?
Oh, were you
Lying.
under the misconception I was done?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh, that would have been just a terrible error on your
Mark.
part.
Oh, I thought that
Come
was
on.
He's
See what
just
happens when I
walking
can't follow along?
towards the front door.
Shit's never
Oh.
over, dude.
Okay,
Get it together.
thank you. All right, can I go on? Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Once he had stepped onto the porch, Adele quickly locked the door and rushed to the window to see where he was heading next. But much to her dismay, she could find neither hide nor hair of her curious color. In fact, it was as if he had managed to vanish into thin air. So from the time it took her to lock a door, I assume run to a very nearby window,
Right.
he's just gone. So either he's hiding on the side of the house and being a dick, or something magical. I don't know.
That's it. That's
That's
the
it.
only
Those are the
choices.
two options.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Ducking
Just
behind
making
the
sure.
porch,
Magic.
wizardry.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
high sorcery, hide and go seek.
Jerk.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. To say that the 16-year-old was bewildered would be an understatement. Although her abnormal guest had at no time been outwardly threatening, Adele could not shake the sense of unease that the decidedly odd encounter was something she would never forget. Poorly written, I apologize. And with that, she was And what was she to make of his puzzling final command to watch the lights? According to an interview conducted with author Lynn Pickett for her book, The Massive Book of UFOs, which I think is a bit of a misnomer because at no point did anyone mention a UFO in this case.
No.
But at least she's there on the scene. Adele found out what her grinning guest meant a little while later when a veritable constellation of tiny luminosities suddenly materialized and began to frolic about her family room like ethereal troops of dancing fireflies.
Whoa.
It's nice. The show was as brief as it was brilliant, but then, just as mysteriously as they had appeared, the little lightning bug Barishnikovs left through the window, presumably to rejoin the pale man in his ongoing adventures through Yorkshire, and perhaps beyond.
Yorkshire.
Shut up.
Yorkshire.
It is Yorkshire. We won that fucking war.
Did we really?
It's not the time. It's just not the time. All right. We have a postscript. We have a postscript, and then we're going to break this shit down. And I will say, in an interesting postscript, the clock that had so enthralled the smiling salesman ceased to work following the visitor's tapping chant of your father, his time. The broken timepiece served as nothing more useful than an extravagant paperweight until, years later, it spontaneously began to work again during a televised broadcast of Uri Geller's utensil-bending goodness in the 1970s. Now, is anyone even remotely familiar with Uri Geller? Kind of crazy charlatan, but he got super famous claiming he could bend spoons, use psychic powers. He's recanted it, and a lot of people at the time were really obsessed. So it seems like a complete coincidence, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's some crazy magic happening. Either way, the clock worked again. It did not look like a stagecoach. People could tell time. God bless, amen.
So did it stop working after he was done bending
after it was
spoons?
fondled by the Grinning Man?
Right.
You know, molested, patted, your father has time.
Mark it with
then
a B.
it stopped working for various years until some point in the 70s when Uri Geller, bless his heart, fixed that fucking clock.
His power.
Yeah.
Okay.
The power of the
powers made
Geller
it work.
compels you.
Kind of a long time for it not to work. But all right, yeah. Cool.
And there it is.
All right. So now is this person
So-
saying that she's a liar and she's making it all up?
I do
Is that what
not
we
say
do?
that. I
Can
absolutely do
we
not.
say that?
We can.
Let me tell you guys some of the theories, because obviously this case has been kicking around for decades upon decades. One of the main theories is, now y'all have heard of Men in Black, right? It's a simple thing. But unlike, the cinematic version where they're all like super dapper and, and they go around making you forget things, the original version, especially the ones that were reported on in the mid part of the 20th century, were usually small, very awkward, almond-eyed, kind of olive-skinned entities that seemed to be as disturbing for the thinly veiled threats they were making to UFO eyewitnesses as their just inability to function with like simple human etiquette. So a lot of people have said, well, this seems to be a clear-cut case of that. He had this ruddy complexion that was makeup. The smile might have just been a weird thing. But because she didn't see a UFO, at least as far as we know, and there didn't seem to be any alien encounter, I can't necessarily subscribe to that. Another more interesting theory that I'm into is the idea that it might be a Grinning Man. Now, anyone know anything about Grinning Man? It's pretty awesome, right? I mean, it's like the creepiest thing. So what these things are like 7 foot tall, bald men, very pale, perpetual shark-like grin, eyes set very far apart, and eyewitnesses don't seem to be able to remember if they had noses or ears or any other facial features save a giant grin and these beady, wide-set eyes. And what's more interesting is that they aren't necessarily a phenomenon in and of themselves, but they were seen in Point Pleasant during the Mothman flap. They were seen during the Zanfretta abductions. That was a really famous series of abductions in Torriglia, Italy, I think, in the 1970s. Where this guy kept getting grabbed by 8 foot tall reptiles with face masks is awesome. We'll talk about that another day. But anyway, these things always seem to show up where something else is happening. Whether they're observers, space cops, we don't know. We have no idea what they
Space
are.
cops.
But this thing does smack of a Grinning Man in a lot of ways.
It does, yeah, totally.
I'm definitely intrigued by that. A few of the key things aren't there. Grinning Men also are almost always seen in plaid pants with a metal chest plate. So that's
Yeah, what
a little
episode did we
weird
do with
curve.
that? It was the Grinning Man, but was it like in New Jersey? Or
yeah,
was it?
when Jimmy Yankitis and
yeah,
Mouse
Jimmy
Munoz
Yankitis,
had an interaction with this
Forgot about
guy. I
that.
mean, they've been seen all over. Like I say, it's always in conjunction, usually with another phenomenon. The last one, and this is a theory that is of the batshit crazy variety that I love, is that some people actually think it is a repurposed corpse that through computer chips and mechanization had been, just like say, upcycled to become some sort of agent of
So
what I
it's
don't know.
like a robo zombie?
Like a robo zombie.
Yeah.
100% a robo zombie. For what purpose, who knows? To do what? This horrible combination of sinew and steel and gray matter and microchip just fucking around and scaring teenagers?
Just shows up
Sure,
to make
why
a
not?
clock
Oh,
work,
yeah, that
like-
sounds good.
All right, yeah.
Loving
I mean,
clocks? Who doesn't love clocks? I mean, carriage clocks. We've been talking about this all day. My favorite.
We just found out what they
I
were
love them.
like 15 minutes ago.
Absolutely. It's the best. So it is, like so many of these cases, a standalone one-shot deal with a very weird entity and a very scared human being, something that she would never forget. And it seems like would have no real value in making this encounter up. I mean, she didn't seem to monetize it. It didn't seem to, turn into a
there
book
isn't
deal
really,
or anything.
there isn't anything for her to gain by making this up. She's
And
not getting money out of it. She's not getting notoriety. She's just telling some crazy shit.
And that's what I love about it, because now we're left with what the fuck is going on? What was his deal? How come he couldn't get time?
Why is he making this? He can't.
Yeah, so
Why are his shoes in the wrong feet? Clothes are small
Why
hat.
is,
What's
why
going
is he
on?
walking like a shitbag puppet
Yeah.
in someone's
I don't
nice
know.
home in Yorkshire?
And he's
I
just
don't know if that makes a
All he
difference.
cares about is his clock.
Not sure that makes a difference.
Like, all right. Well, so what are your theories on this, Robert?
Well, I mean,
Aside from those things
Aside
that you
from
just
the
said.
ones-
obviously,
So are you leaning more towards like a Grinning Man situation where maybe there was some UFO activity in the area at some point, maybe just not documented?
I think it's a really super shitty beta android.
All right, you going
I don't
Android,
know
all right,
who.
all
I don't
right.
know what
Why?
like fucking twisted government scientific cabal or whatever. I don't know what London was doing at the time in Yorkshire. But what I do know is that governments like to build robots.
Was it a Robert Smith club?
Well, it's 68. I mean, maybe if someone had a hint of the glory to come, they
Yeah,
knew they
yeah,
needed
that's-
more
Yeah,
than one.
Robert
Yeah.
Smith clone, totally.
Maybe the real Robert Smith died early, and they knew they needed this guy as a backup, and this is how they tested him. But he was,
The real
Oh, he's the final version.
yeah, he's the final version because they needed something that would be appropriately awkward, and he mastered it.
So Robert Smith is a robot.
Slash Grinning Man. Well, no, let's
he's-
be specific. He is a carcass.
The final
cum
version, though.
automaton
Yeah. You can't tell the
that
difference.
became a super pop star
Yeah.
that we all love. At least I do. I don't care if you guys
You,
know.
you might be alone up here with that one. I don't know.
I'm standing by it.
I have no
Yeah,
issue
I
with
love the
Robert
Cure.
Smith.
You might be alone.
Yeah.
Jeez, all right, who loves the Cure? Come on. All right,
Who
good.
likes the Cure?
Then we're not alone.
Glad I
So
got
we all
Busky
love
over here
robots.
with me now, raising his
Then.
hand. That's right.
The underside cover, voice on cry.
Yeah, that's
That's good stuff.
There was a beta version of Robert Smith.
Exactly. You have
Oh,
to test it
all
out in the
right.
neighborhoods. You have to figure it out. You have to figure out how it works.
That's what I'm
how it's
saying.
going to interact.
You don't know.
So I wonder what the connection to the clock is.
It's odd.
I mean, the whole clock really is the whole point of the story because it dances and there's like lights come out of it, right? The Barishnikovs
the
appear,
lights don't actually come out of the clock. I don't know where you got
Mark,
that.
what are you
Oh.
listening to?
Do you hear what I say?
but they thought the lights came out of the clock.
No, the lights just
The
magically
lights just
appeared.
appeared. Okay.
My little lightning bug Barishnikovs.
Wow.
And you just waste time having them come out of clocks.
All right. Well, I mean, maybe they're trapped in the clock.
What were the lights?
Jeez.
What is the point?
I don't know. That's
Was it
that's
like a
actually the
dazzling
weirdest
show?
thing.
Nanobots. That's what I'm talking about.
Trying to figure out how we live.
Why Adele? Did she give birth to the next Hitler?
Average is the average farmhouse in Yorkshire.
In Yorkshire. Yes, of course. I think maybe it's preventative. Whenever something weird happens, I'm always thinking someone's about to fuck up fundamentally. And the fates, the universe, whatever enforcing power you care or don't care to believe in,
Send a crappy robot?
send some shitbag, half flesh, bald, makeup having weirdo to come just put you in a slightly different direction
All right.
so that, your second child isn't Idi Amin. It doesn't always work because we got Idi Amin. But more often than not,
It
I think
might.
we're being saved by these really fleshy fuck-alls.
So they're showing up just at random points to adjust, to make a bit of an adjustment so that things don't go to whatever horrible place they're going to go.
It's Occam's razor. It's
Okay,
just the
yeah.
simplest
It is,
solution.
sorry, yeah, it's cool.
Clearly,
Yeah.
there's no
It's the
better,
most logical-
straightforward way
Yeah.
to explain this.
All right, I mean, okay, so
I mean, if you guys want to be absurd
they're just
and
preventing
just say it's some weirdo
possible
with
horror. All right.
alopecia that happens to like go to people's houses and creep out teenagers, fine, be a weirdo. I think I came up with the one solution that makes fucking sense.
I think you did. Actually, I don't really have a
I don't know about
rebuttal
that,
for
but-
that.
That's it.
I think it's just that they are saving us from ourselves, possibly.
Somebody has to.
Walking in the darkness.
Stay safe.
No. That's too soon.
All right, Chris, you got any
Too-
closing
too-
thoughts with this?
No, he was just confused. The only thing weird is the lights. I don't even know what
The
that.
lights are kind of strange,
deal-
but I mean,
everything else is weird, but it's not like out
Right.
of the realm of possibility. He put his shoes on the wrong feet, and he has some sort of weird thing. But then when it comes to those lights and that weird,
yeah.
See,
that's really the weirdest.
it's that kind of thinking that really pisses me off.
Science, Rob.
Jesus Christ.
Why are we here? Why are we here?
Why do you grasp at these straws of idiocy when I present a fully formed, easy to read, lovable theory?
See you guys next week.
Yep, there it is. Anyone out here have ideas? Want to share? Bring it home.
Other than
Anybody?
robots, Kenny.
Could be a
A
Terminator.
Terminator. All right, I
Right.
like that. Terminator.
Oh, it's the shittiest Terminator, though.
Yeah, worst Terminator ever.
Right on.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, that's a good
Awesome.
point. That's a good point.
You're talking about Yorkshire, that fairyland. You got trees up there. You got that would explain the lights.
That would
Oh,
explain
actually,
the
yeah,
lights.
that would explain the lights.
well-
Oh, what if he was like this weird automaton ambassador built by the wee folk to like bridge the gap between us and them, and they just fucked up dramatically. Like they just didn't get the protocols right. It's not even beta, it's like zeta. It's like just the worst thing ever. And it's trying to like just establish communication with the youth as you'd want to. You want the next generation coming up to be the one that supports you.
Of course.
But then once that happened, they surely tore it apart into its sundry pieces because
Yeah.
it was a fucking aborted mission right out of word.
Okay.
Right at word go. So
I mean, I like the fairy idea. That sounds good. Yeah.
we didn't even go there.
All right.
No, we
Fairy Frankenstein.
A fairy.
Oh,
Your wife
Fairy
was
Frankenstein.
I need to know what happened to the lights.
The lights.
Can you tell my wife what happened to the lights?
Absolutely.
I think we zoned out on the lights.
Oh
It's
my
all right.
God.
I mean, I'm listen. I'm a boring orator. Deal with it.
Oh wait, she thought that they came out of the clock too. Someone's on my team.
That's why you guys are
That's
married.
why you married him. Exactly. You're wrong
we got
together.
smart babies. We got two.
Nick, they flew out the window.
The lights did?
Yep. They danced about the young lady in her sitting room, the lounge probably, and then just went phew, out the window.
Were they the actual light fixtures or just light?
It
The
was
light
not.
fixtures.
What's it? The
It was
bulb?
not the lamps in the room or the chandelier.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
They were spontaneously forming orbs of light,
Ooh.
like baby Foo Fighters or like little tiny fireflies.
Yeah.
They did their thing
They did not come from the clock.
with no discernible origin, and then once they were done doing their thing,
Oh, my God.
after a brief time, they left via the window.
That's the creepy part.
That is creepy.
That's what I
right?
was saying.
Yeah.
That's
Actually,
the-
that's,
that's
the
the-
pretty part. I mean, it's the paranormal
Yeah, that's the
part.
weirdest part,
Fucking
yes.
lights just appearing out of nowhere.
Would you not be thrilled by
No,
that?
no, I would
oh
not
my
be thrilled
gosh.
at all.
What? No,
Dude,
it'd
ground
be phenomenal.
display.
Yeah, in your fucking living room, seriously?
Yeah.
Just
It's
some
not like the
creepy dude
fucking
meet
4th
you?
of July. It's just these little dancing lights of glory. It's little Tinkerbells having a good time.
Baryshnikov. It was Baryshnikov.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Well, don't
Could
stop
it have
looking
been
at me.
Baryshnikov?
I literally called them Baryshnikov because they were dancing in the air. It's my bad. I wish I hadn't done it because now you're abusing the fucking privilege.
I like that you did it. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, good.
You're my Baryshnikov.
There-
Oh.
So, I like the lights. Who else is creeped out by the lights?
Anybody else
All right,
creepy
that's
lights?
fair.
Creepy
Nothing
lights?
creeped
Why
out
are you
by
creeped
it.
out by the lights?
They don't belong in your house?
Thank you. Or coming from, I'm sorry, they're not coming from the clock.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm not going to let it go.
They did not come from the fucking clock.
We've established that.
this. Yes.
Oh, we think alike.
That's
Yes.
interesting.
Why is it fixing the clock?
So,
Mom and dad's trophies from the time we got bombed by the Germans.
right. Why the clock? Good question. Fairies love time. That's the fact that I
Fairies
kind of
love
made
time.
up.
Well,
But maybe this is more temporal than I thought.
Yeah.
You actually are making me think. Maybe there is something that is less about either magic or earth science or extraterrestrial science at the time, but something more about time travel. Maybe the fact that him trying to figure out where he is, what time he is, maybe even trying to figure out why he is there. If he's like a reluctant time traveler that had no idea where he ended up or why.
He said something about the father.
It's the father,
Too.
his time.
Yeah. So
and he chanted
what
that
does
over
that
and
even
over.
mean? Not
Well,
just the father.
You could either assume it's because Adele said this is my dad's retirement gift, it's my dad's, and it tells time, and it's just repeating back those phrases.
Or confirming that's the thing he needs because the dad has something to do with something.
It's all about the dad.
Why not?
Why?
Why not?
All right, continue.
I'm just saying, why not?
No, well, yeah, I know, but
It
now
seems
There-
like
there's no
whatever it is,
there's no evidence
whatever it is
of that, but why
with-
not the dad?
it
Why
seems-
even bring up the dad?
because she said it was his dad. Her
So you
dad's
think
clock.
he's just a repeating mechanism?
Well, this is why I wrote it down.
Oh, he's checking his notes. Oh no, what did you do? He's checking his notes.
What did he? Yeah. What?
Okay.
No.
All right, so at one point, Adele says, he made me so nervous I started to blather. I told him
Yeah.
the clock was my father's retirement present, which seemed to be a huge revelation to him. So, yes. But still, I mean, you're right. Could it be a deeper thing?
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Like, I dig what you're saying. The obsession with time is interesting. Because this thing is anomalous. All jokes aside about robo-zombies, and even though it does fit the template of a lot of Men in Black encounters and this weird Grinning Man phenomenon, it really doesn't make sense. And if it was just a weirdo, he picked the weirdest way to be a weirdo. Like, the idea of a creepy old dude coming in on a teenage girl is like a Lifetime movie that you just don't want to see. It's like this heinous case that could really happen. But it's not creepy in that way. It's creepy in all the wrong
well,
ways.
no, yeah, it's
I
just
mean, those
weird.
are worse ways, but in the wrong ways of like, what the F is going on? And
No, it's more
why
like
are you
a
just being
more
such
like a
freak?
Twilight Zone and
Yes.
less like a after school special.
100%. Thank you.
So
Bad
could
touch,
could this be ultra-terrestrials? Possibly.
Yeah.
Now, ultra-terrestrials.
Does anybody know what an
Anyone familiar with
ultra-terrestrial
this?
is? Oh, I saw one.
Yeah.
I
It's,
saw
it's
anybody
anything
else?
and everything,
Yeah. Oh no.
It is not anything and everything.
isn't it?
It has the potential.
To be anything
Everything
and
and
everything.
everything.
All right.
So, an
Just give
ultra-terrestrial.
a brief.
Really,
yeah.
really super brief. It's a theory held by a few paranormal investigators, especially famous ones like John Keel, who wrote the Mothman Prophecies, and Jacques Vallée and a few others have espoused this, of these entities that are these sort of amorphous indigenous creatures that have been here as long as, if not longer, than modern humans, and that they can assume different shapes, but their overriding agenda is to eat our fear. So they do crazy, batshit crazy things, sometimes outright terrifying, sometimes just bizarre, so you get this feeling of unease, depending, I guess, if they want a light snack or a full fucking Thanksgiving 4-course meal. And their only purpose is to show you things that will induce these states of paranoia and outright terror so that they can come in like a honey badger and lap it up. That is it in a nutshell. They allegedly live on Earth, but in this place that was called the super spectrum. So I guess you could compare it to either like a parallel planet or maybe an alternate dimension, though that gets into literally elements of dimension and math that become kind of convoluted. So the long and short of it is, they are whatever the fuck they want to be, whenever the fuck they want to be. You're their food, and boo. And that's ultra-terrestrials in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So whether it's
So,
Bigfoot,
pretty vague.
Mothman, alien, lizard man, whatever, anything could
A
be.
lot of people go to that theory.
Okay. All right. Well.
The hard part is, and this is something I like to call the magic whale, which is when you glom onto something that is just so patently over the top, absurdly paranormal that it dries up every other line of questioning, then that leaves you with nowhere to go. It's like
Yeah,
you lose
kinda
any.
stuck.
I mean, yes, we're batshit crazy and we love weird shit, and that's part of the fun of this. But you also have to use a little, like just a taste of the scientific method. You have to at least pretend you're trying to get to some facts at some point. Otherwise,
Well, yeah.
everything's carte blanche.
Yeah,
So is time
that's
travel?
what I'm saying.
So it's time travel. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
What-
Yep,
is that
no,
what it is?
Mark nailed it.
All right, cool.
Yep, yeah,
Sweet.
perfectly. Time travel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe ultra-terrestrial, because the one thing I would say in terms of that, if these things exist, I'm dubious if these things exist, this is a classic case of just freaking somebody the fuck out. And maybe there's a nice piquant sort of minerally flavor when you just like make somebody feel really weird, you know, not like outright scare, but just skeevy. Maybe that's just a flavor you don't always get. So they're like these great fucking gastronomic masters just getting what little they want in the perfect way. And maybe this dude just elicited from that girl just that fucking fine flavor.
Well,
Or not. And that's the beautiful thing about all these. You always can add an or not. Anyone
Perfect.
else have anything they want to add or ask?
What are we calling it?
It's called the salesman. So just that, it's like almost like an old urban legend. You expect there to be a hook in the back door or something in the oven, baby-like, but no, it's just the salesman.
what?
A-I-L or S-A-L-E?
Ah, that's it. Not salesman.
Oh, wait a minute.
Come on,
No,
Bosky.
in all fairness, Brian came to class late.
There's no boats. There's no
As
no,
such,
no,
he
no
did not
boat was
know
mentioned.
that when he showed up at the front door and knocked on the door, like
True.
a door-to-door salesman, he asked something to the effect of, and, well, you know, I can read it to you directly.
Can you?
Yes, I can. Hold on. Do you have insurance? Is it now?
See?
So salesman in that sense. Though on Sundays, it's got a little dinghy, just mad rowing,
Out there on the
You know.
seas.
Nice.
catching sunfish, getting rays, reading a book. Please.
Do you think maybe he was coming from the father and calling her his there?
That's interesting.
See the father.
So the father, all right,
It's
the father,
possible.
It's a recurring thing.
Yeah.
See, this is something when I was doing the research, it never occurred to me, but I love it because this has opened up.
You
new
just
avenues of
assumed he was
thought.
repeating what she said.
And maybe he was excited about the carriage clock simply because it was an artifact associated with the father.
Right.
But then I wonder, because this is what kills you. There's no follow-ups.
There's no
Cases
follow-ups.
like this invariably, like a lot of time, it's one and done anyway. It's like a bad one-night stand with a paranormal entity, and everyone wants to forget it and move on, and somebody writes about it eventually because they're dicks. But in this case, I would love to know if there was any other odd encounters, any other strange visitors, if the father ever experienced anything. Did he work for was he a scientist?
That's what I'm
Did he do,
saying.
like some shady stuff? Was he part of the early nuclear program for Britain and maybe
Right.
was involved in some advanced weird either time travel or nuclear or who the hell knows what?
Right.
These are all great possibilities with no way of that's always part of the
I
problem.
know.
It's full of intrigue. But could it have something to do with the father? Fuck yeah. Does it? Who the fuck knows? We just don't know.
Maybe.
I'd like to think so. Now, after
See?
hearing all of these
You've
good
converted.
pieces of...
You've been converted.
Yeah, no, the dad was in on it. Something shady was happening. Thank God Adele was there to save the day.
Yeah.
Here's for Adele. Come on, everybody.
All right, for Adele. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
England.
So I think, is that a good way to
All
wrap it
right,
up?
that's it.
All right. Cool. Thank you all so very much for joining us for the Cryptonaut podcast. Social medias, and this is Twitters and Facebook. And we're going to take a 5-minute break and then come back and do more. Yes, no?
Sure, we got time. Another one
All
if
right.
you're gonna hang out.
Cool.
Do you guys want to hear another one? Or
Yeah.
is
you
it too
do?
much?
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
All
All right.
right.
It's like a 5-minute break, and then we'll do it again. All right.
Word?
Thank you. So this next story is the stone-headed jellyfish trio.
That's
interesting.
that's weird.
It is
is
kind of
weird.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does sound kind of like a cool
Is that a
band, right?
jazz fusion?
No, it's definitely it's a late '60s acid rock band
Yeah.
cut off of Woodstock
Yeah.
last second. Never got famous. 2 EPs.
The stone-headed jellyfish trio. In
That's
the
what it's
dead
called.
of night, midway through the first decade of the new millennia, a terrified Tucson residents would have a surreal face-to-rocky face encounter with a troika of hideous home invaders who not only defy the conventions of terrestrial biology, but the fundamental laws of physics themselves.
And that's when you're fucking up.
troika.
Because we have to value the laws of physics. Second only perhaps to the laws of thermodynamics. You start fucking with either of them, you're fucking up the program.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say,
out.
these
Now-
people are a real threat.
Am I the only one that when I see the word Tucson spelled, I say Tucson? Like Tucson, New Jersey? Am I the only one?
Nicole probably does.
Nicole, do you see that too, Tucson? Do you?
You guys
All
are
right,
a
guys,
match
you
made in
share a
heaven.
mind.
This is why we are
One
been together for
love,
10
one
plus years.
mind.
We can't pronounce words.
It's
It's kind of like macabre.
Yes.
The macabre.
Macabre.
All right.
Macabre.
Dance macabre.
All right, Robert. So tell us about the stone-headed jellyfish trio.
All right. Well, to start with, they're fucked up. They're really, really fucked up.
Thanks for
All right.
coming.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
you know.
That's it.
Boom. Do your research. Okay. This one's recent, so I'm pretty excited about that. Sometime in March of 2005, a woman who understandably chose to remain unidentified claimed to have gotten into a quarrel with her boyfriend at the home the two shared in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
The subject and duration of their argument remains a mystery, but what is known is the fact that the man stormed out in a fit of pique at about 3 a.m.
Fit of peak.
I'm
fit
dumb.
of
What's
fucking
peak?
peak.
What's peak?
It's classic Bruce Banner. Do not stir me to a fit of pique, sir.
Okay.
You would not like me in a fit of pique.
So he left
Wow.
at 3 in the morning.
It's anger. Yeah.
Okay,
He's,
oh,
just
anger.
He's pissed.
Okay. Cool.
He's pissed. That's it.
All right.
Okay.
Sweet.
Without having spoken to the woman whose paramour stalked off, it is impossible to know where her head was at. Did she feel vindicated having managed to right some hitherto neglected wrong, or was she guilty about having caused an unnecessary row? I don't know. Was she still seething with anger or sobbing uncontrollably? These questions cannot be satisfactorily answered with the information provided, but one can at least surmise that following their acrimonious war of words, a heavy energy hung within the Tucson home. The kind of emotional outpouring that often creates its own form of psychic barometric pressure that can emotionally weigh down those caught in its dark psychogravitational pull. That's from Freud. I didn't make that up.
Nice.
I did. I totally did. Sending ominous
Bastard.
electrically charged ripples up and down one's spine. This environment was the backdrop to, or perhaps the lightning rod for, one of the most incredible and nightmarish encounters ever chronicled between a human being and an unknown entity. The first hint that something was amiss came as the woman stood on her front lawn, presumably to either demand her boyfriend a vamoose, beg him to stay, or simply watch him go. Whatever the circumstances of his departure, the woman found herself alone, and that's when she was startled by a series of iridescent blue flashes emanating from the night sky. That's just,
Yeah, see.
you don't want that. You know what? I always think Poltergeist. Does anyone else have like a favorite horror film where you think,
No, that's
oh,
that's a
when
good
it's
one.
like milk being poured into an aquarium circa like mid-'80s, and
Yeah.
it's just this rolling nightmare cloud of ick, and you're like, oh, fuck. I got to get inside. I got to just tape the windows. It sucks. That's what I'm seeing here.
Like when I hear chainsaws.
There's nothing like that.
Nothing at all.
No,
Really?
I don't
You
even
sure?
know where you're going
Where
with
do you
that.
see a snake?
Yeah, when I see a snake, we'll hear chainsaws.
The world's ending.
Like, oh no, it's over. It's done.
It's exactly like that,
Hell.
Mark. It's 100% like that.
All right.
Not resembling any kind of lightning she'd ever seen, the woman wisely decided to retreat, page 2, back inside of the safety of her home in order to avoid the meteorological madness rippling through the clouds. It would be easy to assume that the homeowner felt as if she dodged an atmospheric bullet, but the moment she entered her house, she would encounter a threat infinitely more unfathomable than the bizarre blue light show outside. Anyone want to guess? I mean, it's in the title.
Chainsaws.
Yeah. It's not fucking chainsaws.
You sure? You don't know.
It is never chainsaw. We
A
do not
troika?
do a
Oh,
chainsaw.
it's a jelly head stone.
I knew you'd be mad
What
about
was
the
it?
troika.
I like troika. It's cool.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I like your
perestroika.
vocabulary.
The woman was likely riveted to the spot as she stared at what must have been as she stared with what must have been ashen-faced terror at the enormous entity that reared up in the center of her living room. This bizarre being stood nearly 8 feet at its apex and was crowned with a mineralized face that the eyewitness would describe as resembling a rock head.
So she turns around. There's just this big, giant 8-foot thing standing there.
With a big rock head.
Shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Big shitty rock
No,
head.
but no chainsaws. Right?
Not fucking.
I'm just making sure.
Why?
I don't know.
You got to let go of the chainsaw.
I can't. All right, fine. Whatever. I can't have nice things.
All right.
Fine.
No, you can't.
Even weirder, if you may, was the thing's gelatinous, jellyfish-like skin that had the cephalopod-like ability to change its color and texture to blend into the background of whatever it happened to be standing in front of. As it moved through her family room, the objects behind it must have warbled like a mid-60s TV dream sequence, further enhancing the surreality of the situation. So
It's
what
a
we have...
gross 8-foot tall jellyfish with a rock
shimmery,
head.
translucent, fucking jelly body.
Gross.
With a big rock head.
Just in your
That's
living
what we
room
got.
after a fight with your significant other.
It's not when you want to. You never want to deal with this. But you don't want to deal with this,
Well,
especially
after a blowout with your husband.
blowout,
Yeah, this
exactly.
sucks.
We always eat Chinese. Zool.
Fold the laundry. Looking at you, Nick.
Nobody
Wow.
wants Zool.
Yeah, sorry. No, you don't. It's okay. I do. It's fine.
If we're quite done.
Continue.
Please.
Morph.
Unfortunately, God damn it, Carno, this lone observer failed to elucidate for future researchers, like fucking yours truly, as to whether or not this being was vaguely humanoid, an undulating, tentacle-smothered Landowar. Oh, I'm proud of that one. Landowar. Or just a blob-like lump with a chiseled, stony, Easter Island-like head, which I am convinced from certain angles looked a lot like Clint Eastwood circa Ot 3. What else could it have looked like? It's 100% the way
No,
it
you're
looked.
right.
Yeah, no, totally.
While there's no consensus as to the looming thing's appearance, what the woman made clear was that it was accompanied by two nearly identical entities, whose only significant difference was their height, as these beings stood just under 5 feet tall. Were these smaller versions merely acolytes of the bigger creature, or perhaps pint-sized progenies? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I just don't know.
So you got one, not to recap too much, but you got one giant 8-foot one. Then you got two little minis.
There's minis.
For like float, like just kind of hanging out with it.
That's it. So 8 foot, identical 5 foot, so 3 foot shorter.
That sucks.
Well,
Oh, really?
exponentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally 3 times suckier than it was when
Yeah,
it was
well,
just
yeah.
one thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right.
One almost can't help but to wonder if this was a case of natal homing. I'm going to throw some theories early.
Oh, man.
That's right. A process by which certain animals travel back to their place of birth in order to reproduce. Could it be that this suburban tract in southern Arizona served as the spawning ground for these mousseline monstrosities? And mousseline means anything light and fluffy that you eat.
I was wondering why you're bringing up
love
Mussolini.
alliteration. Yeah. Yes, this Mussolini-like monstrosity.
Johnny Big
Yeah.
Words.
Totally. Yep. The access power of monstrosities. Let's continue.
Okay.
Less concerned about their roots than their intentions, the woman watched in horror as this trinity of amorphous entities undulated through her house. She wasn't just frightened for herself, but for the other members of the household, presumably her children, who were sleeping in adjacent rooms. That sucks. That just amplifies the horror. Trying to maintain a safe distance from these terrible trespassers, the woman watched as these phantasmagorical fiends moved from room to room, sometimes using doorways, other times passing directly through solid walls, as if they weren't there.
Yeah,
That's called magic. That's magic. Or science.
It's magic.
Or science. It's one of the two. It's always one of the two. Was this a case of rapidly oscillating molecular displacement or simply gooey, viscous flesh oozing its way through the tiny pores and cracks of the wooden plaster that separated the rooms? Unfortunately, the report does not offer much info as to the method employed by these, wait for it, glutinous goblins.
Oh yeah, nice.
This mic, but it's very expensive.
Yeah, no, don't drop it. No, we don't have money for that, Robert. We don't.
For an extended, although unspecified period of time, the wary woman followed her uninvited and decidedly inhuman guests as they wandered through her home in a seemingly random fashion. It was then that events took a turn toward the terrifying when the largest of the creatures turned toward the woman as if acknowledging her presence for the first time.
So the whole time they're in
alright.
their house, they're in her house. They're not even acknowledging that she's there. They're just like floating, just doing nothing, not even caring. And then all of a
Just
sudden they just
Sludging
Do
through
one
the
of those?
rooms,
Yeah.
being all fucking
Well, you have to
jellyfish
show up.
bodied
You have
and
to do your
rock-headed.
show up deal.
Maybe they didn't even notice her. Like, maybe they
Didn't-
can't even see us. Maybe they're just, they didn't have eyes necessarily. Maybe the level of reality
Listen.
they function on has no room for us, flesh bags,
Well, we're gonna find out.
and the shitty things we do.
Okay.
Except that theory is totally fucked because I already said
Yeah,
it
yeah,
noticed her
yeah.
for the first time.
Yeah.
So maybe it got new glasses. That's probably what happened. Okay. It's hard to imagine that this thing's sudden change in demeanor did not startle the observer, but what came next was literally petrifying. According to the report, it was at this point that the enigmatic entity, that's for you, Mark, unleashed a stream of unidentified liquid from its body
No.
that solidified the moment it made contact with the woman's flesh.
No, it didn't.
yeah, it's gross.
No,
Yeah.
it didn't.
So we'll save the porn jokes, but it
No, it
is
didn't.
just a super
did not
nasty
happen.
thing, and you don't want it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants
No,
this.
because it
Maybe
didn't
it's
happen.
marking its territory.
Yeah, it could
Yeah,
be.
it could be. You know.
She could be his property, like a cat marking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It loves you now.
Yeah.
And it will bring you dead
You belong
things
to
to
this
eat.
gelatinous headed thing.
Oh yeah, you're gonna find heads all over the place.
Oh my god, yeah, no, totally. That's how it shows it. Instead of like mice and parakeets, it brings you
It
heads.
just brings like,
You
like
just get-
Sundry
you get
heads
head-
of
you-
all sorts of species.
Yeah, you
desert
get heads.
folk.
Yeah.
Oh, desert folk? Who the fuck are desert folk? That sounds vaguely, I don't know, insulting.
a Dune
Like if
reference?
it's not
No, it's
racist, it's still
People
horrible.
like live in the desert, like them. Yeah, they
Yeah.
live in Tucson, New Jersey. Yeah,
Oh.
man.
You're a horrible person,
Okay.
desert
I'm
folk.
just saying, it
Wow.
kills desert people.
All right, I was thinking Arrakis,
Like
but whatever.
Tatooine, whatever. Could be the Jun Horde. Yeah, it
Could be the Jun
Horde.
Horde.
Man.
Or Sardaukar troopers. We can just go on and on with Dune references
Yeah,
all
no,
night.
I know.
Yeah.
The Fremen.
Alarmed and almost certainly convinced that the hardening sludge was designed to incapacitate her and perhaps even prevent her from protecting those who were still asleep in her home, the woman struggled to extricate herself from the quickly coagulating mess, but found, to her surprise, that the substance offered very little resistance and seemed to fall right off. I can't help but to think the first thing that comes to
well,
mind
so, all
is
right.
that shit bag like cherry wax you get on like a soft ice cream cone. You know what I'm talking about? Like that. It's like wax lips. It's delicious and addictive, yet absolutely fucking horrible and
okay.
a waste of time. Like
yeah.
it just comes right off so easy. That's what I'm thinking. This thing's breaking off in these little hunks of shell,
Yeah, it's all right,
this little
yeah.
shitbaggery.
Like
but it's
what?
like dried snot and jizz. It's like a nightmare. You knew it. Someone had to say it. We all were thinking it.
All right,
No,
see you
there's
There's
next
not
Yeah,
one person
all
that
right,
wasn't
yeah.
thinking
See
it.
you next week.
Wow.
Goodbye.
Patreon.com/Cryptonaut podcast. Instagram, Twitter.
Hashtag snot and jizz. Just saying.
Oh, my God.
There goes,
It's trending already.
we just lost
you.
4 Patreon
right.
people.
We literally did.
Can't wait to
did,
hear
no,
your
we
other
did, no.
pod
We
without
literally
us.
did.
All right. Next page.
Okay.
As the hunks of quick-set jellyfish man goo broke off her skin, the woman stared in what one can only assume was relief while the terrifying trio glided out of her home and into the night, never to be seen or at least reported again. As to whether they used one of the entrances provided or merely slipped through a solid wall is anyone's guess. And there we have the rock-headed jellyfish trio. Circa 2005.
Wow.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
A
So,
lot of research.
if
You're-
you can
you're lucky
go
people
through
are
a
still
wall,
here.
why bother going through a door? Like, if you can just phantasmagorically move through solid objects, why
That
even
made
bother
no
using
sense.
doors? Like,
I would.
What's the point?
If I could float, I would use my legs less than I do, which is not
and then you just
significantly
go
less than I do.
through- You just go through shit.
I would
Yes,
always
yeah,
float.
no, it's true.
I would always, I don't know, transmorgify. I don't even know what the word is. I would totally
Okay, we'll
displace
use that.
matter.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
I don't know.
If you guys could teleport through shit, would you ever bother to use a door again?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Nobody.
Why
right?
bother?
It's a waste.
Yeah, totally.
Carpenters would be pissed, but fuck them.
No,
Hey.
right.
Every room would be a goddamn like trap cube. It would be like a puzzle room, but it'd be all right because fuck it, I'm through.
Yeah,
It's
you
done.
just threw it. Yeah.
So
I get
that's
it.
what these guys are living in, a world where nothing is a maze. They go to a corn maze, they just get pissed.
Yeah,
it's a waste
it's
of
just
time.
called corn.
Yeah, it's true. It's 100% it.
Let's go to the corn.
All right, Robert. So, what are some theories that we have for this?
So it's fucking weird because, sure, the first thing you're going to think is extraterrestrial. Why? Because it does not seem like indigenous Earth shit. You know, the jellyfish-bodied stone head.
Yeah,
not a
but you know-
traditional form of fauna.
Fair.
It's more poltergeisty to me.
In what way?
Because my mind made it that way. There's
like-
lightning. It's
I can-
weird.
I can
Shit's
see
happening.
poltergeisty, yeah,
shit
totally.
appears.
So
Other shit
paranormal,
appears.
you mean?
Ish.
Well, the rock head is what kind of throws me off. Like, it's one thing if you've got like
That
a
is weird.
translucent, weird, squirmy ass body. Okay, fine. You can function in a lot of environments on Earth. Almost all of them underwater, and none of them the desert. We'll save that for a minute. But what's the deal with the rock head?
I don't know.
Is it a helmet?
I didn't ask
Is
it.
it just whatever?
They just got rock heads.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it.
I mean, that's all I can get from the story. They got rock
It
heads.
looked like rock heads.
Maybe it's
You're
not
right.
really a rock.
But
Or
it's
is it?
odd.
It is odd.
What I would
The
think,
whole
though,
thing's odd.
say
but-
these things are like, say, nocturnal terrestrial creatures, like, say, not aliens, not paranormal, just things that live on Earth. If you're basically translucent, almost to the point where you're transparent, where people can see right through you, and all you are is basically a floating rock that's either 5 or 8 feet off the ground,
Well, it's-
depending, And, you know, Ted sees you in the desert, and everyone knows Ted's an asshole and drinks too much, so it doesn't fucking matter what Ted says. He saw a floating rock. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
For the most part, you could live your life and never be seen on Earth, especially in the desert. And when you die, what happens? Your shitty little squiggle body melts, and you're just another rock in the desert. It's like a perfect way to exist under the radar.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, they've never found any evidence for that thing in a desert.
Yeah.
Like
How would they?
scorpions,
They find rocks in deserts. They don't
jelly
find
rock.
desiccated
skull.
jellyfish bodies that evaporate.
How do you know they evaporate?
Because I said so.
This is
Why
what I have
don't
to
we
deal
let
with.
Ted? What happened
Bill,
to him? What happened to
this
Ted?
is what I have to deal with.
Why is Ted an asshole?
Ted's an asshole.
Why? Because of Tucson? Because he's in New
Thank you.
Jersey?
This is what I have to.
Rocks in the desert, they don't find heads.
Yes, but they find rocks that, through the fine art of pareidolia,
Man,
resemble heads.
What if you did find some heads in the desert? Wouldn't that fuck you up? There's a bag of heads, like, oh shit. Like, what do you do? What do you do with
a
that?
bag of heads?
Like, there's,
Yeah.
listen,
How do you
Why-
celebrate
why
Christmas
are
after
bag
bro,
of heads?
what are you doing?
You're right, I did.
That
You're
is
right,
the
I
ultimate
did.
treasure.
You mean a bag of D's? A bag of D's?
So there's no real
Anyway,
consensus,
no,
Mark's
no.
fucking satchel of dildos aside.
Wait, they're not mine. I
Just
found
relax,
them.
all right?
I don't currently
We're
have
tabling
them.
your dildos for now. Okay?
Thank you.
That these rocks actually resembled human faces or even anything we'd recognize as a face.
Yeah.
Based on what she said, they just look like rocks.
Right.
So on that assumption, I'm assuming that they just essentially look like rocks, except for, you know, obviously Clint Eastwood, who looks like a fucking rock.
Okay.
So there's no difference. It's the same fucking thing.
I don't even know what that means.
But my big dream would be...
Your dream?
Think about this. The Moai of Easter Island. What if they were the fucking Lovecraftian god kings of the earth with their big fucking 500-foot gelatinous squirm bodies walking around doing their thing, and then they had to go to their ancestral dying ground, sort of like elephants or whatever, like the opposite of a natal homing ground.
Okay.
The dying homing
The
ground.
the
So
dying
were you going
ground.
to die, not
They,
bang?
they dig a hole.
Okay.
Their body just goes away, and we are left with amazing, antiquated architecture.
Amazing. No, yeah, that's
It just
convenient.
kind of makes
It's
perfect
convenient
sense.
to not be
I
discovered.
think I nailed it with this.
No, I
Because
like
again,
it.
there's
It's
not
cool.
an easier way to explain what's going on, except that huge
Jeez.
moai-headed super jellyfish came
Yeah.
to Earth,
All right.
ruled, helped build all the pyramids and all the continents, of course. Drained the oceans, refilled them when they realized that was a bad idea. I don't know why they did that. That's just part of my research.
Perfect.
Died on Easter Island. We have the heads. Science.
But
Good night.
Yeah, seriously, you just
yeah,
did
but
that,
no,
you
they
just
dug
cleared
under
them
the
all.
heads and there's bodies.
There's no fucking bodies. They're just a big squishy fucking piece
I'm
of fertilizer.
Yeah, I'm saying Easter Island.
No, they're just shit. They melt and they invigorate the soil. Home Depot loves it.
That's not.
They don't
That's
have
not what I'm
bones.
saying.
They're jellyfish bodies.
They
Okay.
seem to be
You're right.
It does seem a
jellyfish
little bit
bodies.
If someone has a better idea.
It seems a little paranormally, a little bit like they're kind of floating.
That's what I'm saying.
Weird jellyfishy.
Did they come from the
bodies.
storm? Are they
That's
cloud
what I was
creatures?
thinking. Yeah.
Zoo,
actually,
we all saw
more, you know.
Ghostbusters. What happens when there's a swirling lightning?
Bad shit.
Yeah.
Zool.
The gatekeeper.
That's what I'm saying.
Vince Clortho.
Yep.
That's
my favorite.
evidence.
That's evident.
Ghostbusters has always been evidence.
Ghostbusters was
That's
a
why
documentary.
Lauren Coleman loves
it
us
wasn't a
right
movie.
there.
It was
That's
a
true, I know.
documentary.
Coleman loves us. That's evidence.
We're always
That is
steamed.
that's evidence.
I don't know. I'm fascinated though by the thought that these things are of Earth. I mean, there's no UFO sightings. There's no. Again, we talked about even in just minutes ago ultra-terrestrials and other dimensions and whatnot. All of that is always on the table. But
The devil.
fuck the magic whale right now and fuck the diabolical just for a second. You know, I'll embrace it for the most part.
All right, well.
I would love the thought that we share our planet with things that we just don't usually perceive.
Sure.
And it takes a certain kind of maybe atmospheric electricity or some shit that allows these things to become visible. It's like the movie From Beyond. Who's seen From Beyond? The old Stuart
Anybody
Gordon film,
from Beyond?
mid-eighties?
Anybody? All
Okay,
right.
so
All right,
where
sweet.
a certain
Couple
device
people.
allows you to see these horrible, nebulous, toothy eel things that are constantly around us. We can't see them. They can't see us. Once this machine is activated, they can, and we're food. Now it's a
Yeah.
horror, movie, and it's based on Lovecraft, so it's a scummy horror movie. But what if we are constantly surrounded by shit, but only under just the right circumstances? Do you see a rock-headed jelly-bodied fuck all.
Yeah,
All right, yeah.
it's possible.
I want that to be true. And
I mean,
You-
after
you
arguing
want
with
that
your
to be-
husband,
isn't that
I
enough?
guess.
Sometimes.
No.
Fair enough.
So like you
But
get in an
still,
argument
no.
with your husband, and then the shit, just the veil between two worlds breaks down because your argument is just that fierce.
It's a possibility.
All right, just put it
Oh,
out
you-
there.
We've all gone
Cool.
into a room where, especially a couple's arguing, and you just feel that heavy.
Yeah, they
Whether or
rip
not you want to think
space-time.
it's like psychic energy or just manifest human perception, where you're like,
Yeah.
Someone's in
"Fuck,
trouble.
I got to get out of here so
Yeah.
quick." It's like a horror
Yeah.
show.
You can feel Zool.
Now, maybe that attracts nefarious things from the nether. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just a coincidence. But
The
you
devil.
can't help but entertain that notion. All right, the devil.
Thank you.
Tell me about
It's
your demons,
time.
Mark.
No, actually, your idea here about natal homing, where they're actually going back to wherever their, their spot is for like a mating ritual, I guess.
Right.
Right. That's kind of interesting because if it is like a 300-year cycle,
Or something long.
yeah.
Like,
So
there,
then-
well, there wouldn't be houses if it
Man.
was some amount of time. Like, say, tortoises, they live a couple hundred years.
Sure.
You know,
Okay,
certain
yeah.
sharks. There are animals that aren't enslaved to the same kind of timeline we are because they're dicks, and I hate them for it. But if these creatures just hibernate or have suspended animation or whatever, and then, like, say, every century or so show up and breed in this area, it wouldn't take long, especially in, like, some weird suburban tract of Arizona, to be like, oh, wait, this housing development literally erupted out of nowhere, and this is where I pork and make my
Oh,
babies.
yeah, sure.
So what the fuck?
So they show up to breed. There's a house, and they're like, "Well, sorry, we were here first."
yeah, maybe that's
Right,
literally
bad.
yeah, right in the
All right,
living
yeah,
They
room.
well,
walk
like that.
through, spawn,
Yeah. Leave.
take their two youngins with them.
See,
okay.
see
They
you
don't,
in a
they
century.
don't give a fuck at your goddamn TV room. That's not their concern.
They
That's
might.
gross,
They
yeah.
might.
it's
maybe.
not.
They
No,
might.
it's just a little,
Other entities that might well be benevolent and cool and intelligent, porking in your TV room is not intrinsically fucked up.
Cool.
No, it really is actually. And Nicole's not having that shit. Mama's not going to deal with
I
that.
know.
You're not- all right, so no monsters porking in your TV room. All
See,
right.
told you.
So
See?
But what if they're cool?
Yeah, no, they're cool. Yeah,
I mean, it's not like they're
exactly.
swingers.
What if you
it's
get
not
the-
like
what
they're
if you get
saying
the
you guys
cool
have to
entity?
participate.
All right. Well.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right, fair enough. Not
All
in your
right.
house.
Oh.
All right, not in my
Stand your
house.
ground,
Not in my
man.
goddamn house.
All right.
So I do like the phantasmagorical, spectral, ghosty angle to it. Not much there, but I'm gonna go with that.
But why? Like, what about this implies something paranormal to you?
Jellyfishy, weird, see-through.
So jellyfish are
phasing
ghosts.
through walls.
So
They could
whenever
be,
you
yeah.
see anything gelatinous in the ocean, it is a specter. It is a long dead
Yeah.
prehistoric creature haunting the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I would be tending to lean
Yeah,
towards
Rob.
biology. in
Yeah.
this case.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be biology.
It's out of the water, Rob.
Yeah, if it's semi-see-through, it's
ghost.
dead.
It's a
No.
fucking ghost.
Yeah, no, it's a ghost. Yeah, it's Patrick Swayze. Yeah. How about that?
It wasn't
Yeah.
doing pottery.
Fucking Roadhouse, dude. What now?
No. Yeah.
I got
yeah.
nothing. Absolutely.
You just got beat.
You just got
Yeah,
Roadhouse.
no, if that jellyfish was taught by fucking the greatest mustache ever to
All
fight,
right,
then I'm
Christopher,
okay.
what are your thoughts on the rock-headed jellyfish trio?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
What do you think?
I don't know. The
Drugs,
gut,
dope,
No, the
booze,
gut lean.
Emotional abuse?
Sure, yeah, all of
Okay,
that.
good,
Yeah.
perfect.
No,
Excellent.
depressing terrestrial things. That's what it was.
Exactly. Nothing,
No,
you got
no,
nothing else for it?
the gut feels more paranormal, but it could easily not be. When I mean,
So you two have a paranormal vibe from this.
Yeah.
yeah,
Jump in our ghost boat, dude.
No, I
According-
absolutely won't. Because
according
there's
to the
nothing
account,
about
no.
this that implies to me a paranormal
Okay.
thing.
we're just saying from the gut. We're not saying it is. I'm not making an assertion that it is. Just saying what my gut says it is.
Non-committal as usual.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're
Because
just
there's
saying
not,
that
there's not
anything
enough
that's
evidence to
see-through is
support
fine.
it.
Fuck
I'm
those
just saying
ghosts,
that's
dude.
why I'm saying this. Just what my gut says.
All right, that's fair. So my friends are wrong, and
Wow.
what it clearly is something biological, extravagant, wonderful. Once ruled the earth, lives on Easter Island, died on Easter Island. Amen.
Yeah.
That's him. Now, I'm curious. Does anyone out here have a theory that they would like to espouse?
Oh,
Bring in the noise.
Maybe there's just a bunch of sea creatures that live in air, like the Hudson Bay sky rays, too.
Ah,
Sea
I like
creatures.
that.
Sky
I like that
rays.
one a lot.
So we
Good
have someone
callback.
that suggests sea creatures that live in air. Like
But then
the
they're
sky
not
rays that
sea
we talk-
creatures, then, are they?
Well, they could be. They could be land sea creatures.
It does.
They're air creatures
They could
that
have
live in
been
the
like
air.
gently swimming inches above the ground, making them essentially air
Could this
sea
be
creatures.
miniature blimps?
It's a blimp.
You
Oh,
can fuck
it's a
off and
blimp.
die. Fuck off and all die.
It's a bad kite accident. It's a real bad
Yeah,
kite
no,
accident.
It really does seem
Yeah.
like that. Tangled up, things got wrong. People died in the desert.
Oh, interdimensional. I like that. I'm a big fan of the
Oh,
interdimensional
man.
myself.
Yeah, you
Okay.
are.
Could be. I mean, you know.
I mean, why not? I mean,
It could be.
that's a wide open spectrum. This whole idea of like parallel worlds, and not just the one where I'm hot or someone's a rock star or someone else is a really good plumber or fucking whatever. All these different fucking worlds where people are just their ideal version, their shittiest version, or just somebody who likes blue more or whatever. But there's got to be other alternate worlds, at least by the math of the scientists, where shit is completely foreign to the way we would perceive it.
Sure.
Like utterly unfathomably foreign and in infinite possibilities. If there could somehow be a breakthrough or a portal or any number of things, even if it's completely an accident, be it atmospheric, be it emotionally charged, be it what fucking ever, then why not? And then you get these like hot, sweet moments
Why
where it's like, I
not?
saw something, I can't explain it, you're going to think I'm crazy forever, it's over. And then we get to talk about it and drink beer later. So that's
Yeah.
the beauty of
All
it.
right, cool. Anybody else got any ideas? Oh, what do you got?
How close are we to Area 51?
Oh, very good. How close are we to Area 51?
I could tell you if Mark Googles it right now.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's see here.
I mean, Tucson to Area 51. Now, deserts are places where lots of experimentation have obviously gone on by governments, both Area 51, there's the proving grounds in Utah. There's a lot of places probably that aren't like seriously designated as places
Sure.
where weird shit happens. But, I mean, Stephen King was always my favorite author as a kid, and The Mist is phenomenal. And the whole idea of the government trying to create some weird portal that might open up a fucking, a door where these Lovecraftian nightmares can come in and just be here for however amount of time, that's not beyond the realm of possibility to me. Like, they would try to weaponize anything. They would weaponize a Cthulhu in a fucking heartbeat.
Oh,
if they could.
100%. 100%.
So, to that end, and besides, science doesn't ever want to stop, and science that has funding that is literally bottomless is going to go buck fucking wild, and more power to them. Usually I'm all about crazy wild science, the kind of shit they have to do on ships in international water so they can get away with it. Who knows what might be happening, and maybe some horrible shit, because it's the Frankenstein story. We're all living in the Frankenstein story, especially in the 21st century. That science is going to do shit because they can until they stop because they have to, because something else came and fucked you over. And we all know Skynet. We know that's coming. Elon Musk has warned us all about AI.
Yeah, no,
Well,
right.
maybe it's something squishy and chisel-faced and Eastwood-looking and fucking the desert that's going to be like the spearhead of the great nightmare of our reality.
All right, so Area 51 to Tucson is about 7 hours and 4 minutes. There's a
Well,
couple other alternate routes.
As the jellyfish glides.
As the jellyfish glides, but still close enough for me. I mean, you never know.
It's close enough for
yeah,
me.
It works. So,
What's far enough?
so government experiment, possibly?
And I'm going with that. Thank you guys.
I like it.
That just
Cool.
makes sense.
Anybody
and
else?
it's more fun, and it's goddamn not paranormal. It's just not the magic of the ether. Houdini would hate you two
Well,
so fucking much.
It's fine. We'd hate him too.
No, it's only mad. I know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Fuck Houdini.
Fuck him. Whatever. He's dead. I'm alive. Good luck.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Choose life. Choose love. Yeah, I
You
said
gonna
that.
talk some shit about Galileo next? Who's on the
Yeah,
fucking hit
That's right.
list
I
here?
will. Yeah. Anybody else got any more ideas? Anybody?
No.
Okay. All right.
Those were good enough.
yeah,
It
those
was,
actually
yeah.
all really good.
So, two
go-
ghosts and a government experiment gone awry. So,
All right.
booyah.
Boom, there it is.
Two ghosts.
And now we're actually thinking about doing a Q&A if anyone's interested.
About anything.
Dirty,
Yeah.
special,
Doesn't have to be
magic
about
questions.
the stories we talked about. It can be about anything. So, anybody got any questions regarding?
And if you don't, it's going to be really awkward for
Yeah.
us. So,
Oh, hold on.
No,
wait,
it's
we got
okay.
a question.
It's okay if you don't.
Should we get a microphone set up or just transfer? No. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What is your question?
I'm a new listener,
Okay.
so I want to know, kind of in general, if there's anything memorable, any pods that are super memorable to you guys that stand out, that as a new listener, I would want to listen to first.
well, they're all gems, of course. Little, it's like a crown, and every jewel is set perfectly in it.
All right.
But
So the question is memorable pods. What
People
was the,
like Loveland Frog a lot. And that's
yeah,
an
but that
early
was our
one.
first episode. That one doesn't really.
No, but people like that one.
The Big Lou episode,
Oh,
which
that-
is
the-
Annabelle
the
part one.
Annabelle
and two.
Annabelle
Annabelle.
People like a lot. Actually, Gargantuan Gliders,
I'm a big fan of that
where
one.
we just ride you
No,
into the ground about
fucking-
blimps, is kind of fun.
Oh,
Where we
yes.
just say it's a blimp. What's that? Oh,
Jeff,
yeah. A recent episode.
Jeff.
Jeff
Most
was pretty.
recent episode. That was
pretty fun.
super fun. I really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed writing that and doing that. I mean,
Also,
it's
too,
the best.
Flipper, right? Heller Space. Is that?
That's
Oh, is that what that
I
was?
think that's
Flipper?
notable more for being that,
Right.
but
It was
still,
a good episode,
it's a
though.
seminal episode.
Yeah. So there's a couple episodes.
I
there.
like.
The one with the seal in the tree in England. What
Oh,
was
the
it?
Krampus.
Krampus. That was like episode two.
That was an early one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And two of my personal faves are the Mel's Hole one, which is just
Yeah, that was
a
good.
batshit crazy odyssey, and I also like one that started off really short, but we had a lot of fun with it. It's the Wakamiko Catman.
Oh jeez.
Oh,
Say
Dump
Dump
Cat.
Cat.
Yeah, Dump Cat was cool.
So
yeah.
I can't tell you what numbers they are, but you could Google it. Whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Those are good starting points.
All right, any more questions? Dania?
If money,
Super
time,
D.
travel, all of that was not a concern, where would you guys go? Like, is there one case or one creature that you guys would actually go and love to explore more about? Ask questions, do research?
Okay, so what Denis asked, if we had infinite resources and infinite time, what would we pursue in terms of a paranormal or cryptozoological mystery? I can't speak for Mark and Chris. I can say for me, one that I'd be most intrigued by is in Sumatra, there is this creature called the Orang Pendek, and it has some of the most truly legitimate and current evidence for its existence. So if there's something that I think, it's not necessarily chasing a cold case, you really have a chance of finding a bona fide undiscovered animal. Just that's all it really is. That's why I love cryptozoology. In the end, as much as I love paranormal and ufology, there's something about the idea that it's just animals we don't know about, which is constantly the fucking truth about animals. Like the oceans are full of them, jungles are full of them. This world has not been mapped to the nth. But the Orang Pendek in Sumatra is the one that I think I would be most excited about, because I think with infinite resources, you could almost definitely nail it.
Are you considering another event?
Like this.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Probably at
I
some
mein,
point, yeah.
this is
Sure.
fun.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun.
I have never been to a live podcast before.
No,
much
it's
less
this
me
is-
either.
Yeah, this is
So
the deal.
yeah, this
Oh,
has
actually,
been great,
yeah.
and I love the and you know what I've loved about this interaction more than anything else is that through talking to you guys, it's actually brought ideas. I mean, we bounce off each other all the time,
Yeah.
Mark, Chris, and I, but we know each other so well that there's a certain rhythm to it. So to get fresh ideas is fun. So just for that alone, I think I would definitely be down with doing
Yeah.
this again.
Totally. Definitely. Any more questions?
Yepers.
Anybody got anything? Nicole, what do you got?
Uh-oh.
Looking at you. What do you think? Bigfoot?
Pepe,
Ever
what
seen
are you,
one?
What are you doing?
I don't know how I feel about Bigfoot.
How do you feel about Bigfoot? Tell everyone.
I think Bigfoot is a mutation.
You think Bigfoot's a mutation of what? Of something?
Yep.
Perfect. That's
That
why
makes
we're
sense.
married. There you
That's
go.
the
Thank
science
you.
I'm talking about right
Yeah.
now. It is a mutation of something.
Okay. Lisa, what do you got?
Oh man.
Nothing? Not a thing. Peyton?
Literally anything.
You might need your organs in the afterlife.
You do need your organs in the afterlife.
So,
I can't.
so Peyton, bless her soul, says every time she looks at a rock from now on, she's going to be, I think you're a dead jellyfish. And it's on. And you know why I know she's right? It's because she's fucking right. It's absolutely what's happening. Minerals have a new daddy, and its name is jellyfish bodied fuck all.
All right, cool.
Because I don't have a real
Awesome.
name yet. Somebody give it
Yeah.
something Latin quick. But yes, all rocks were once the heads of jellyfish land creatures. Suck it.
There you have it. Thank you for joining us for the Cryptonaut podcast. Mark Stores with me as always is.
Crass.
And
Rob,
thank you all so very much, and we're talking to you soon.
you guys fucking rule!
Thank you all so
Thank
very
you so
much.
much! You guys are the best. Thank you for coming out. It literally means so much. And this was so fucking fun. Thank you.
Yeah.